So today we're going to talk about how do you come up with that billion-dollar unicorn idea. So, how do you find an idea for a product or an app or a website or some sort of solution? Um, how do you come up with these ideas, right? If you think about all these big companies like Tesla, Apple, or what you name it, right? At some point, they were just some crazy people with some ideas who said, "Oh, how cool would it be if we had a computer which we can make calls on and do Google searches?" I mean, before those even existed, right? Um, how could we? Would it be cool if we could have an electric car, right? And be more eco-friendly and have less reliance on gas. And so, how do you come up with these ideas that seem almost impossible to most, right? So how do you do that? And so the first step is you have to find a problem. Usually this consists of you running into the problem yourself, like with my example as CEO of Polaris. I ran into the problem, which it was very hard to connect with industry leaders and these business owners as a high schooler. So Polaris was meant to solve that. And so there's a problem. I found the problem, and my product, an app, was the solution. And so you gotta try to find the problem. And in some cases, it may be a friend or a buddy who says, "Hey, it would be so much better if this did this," or what if this existed, right? And so it's just going out there, finding the problem. Sometimes it hits you in the face, and sometimes you gotta go out looking and try to find something that you think is valuable and worth solving. Because most likely, if you have that problem, there's at least some other humans on this giant rock who also will share some similar pain point and problem. And I would like to cover that it doesn't necessarily have to be a new problem, right? Like if you think of even a phone, right? It wasn't something brand new. It was kind of piggybacking off a computer. But the pain point of a computer is it had to be like giant things that you could only really do if you were in an office or at your home or at your desk, right? And so that was the pain point, is I couldn't, have this on-the-go computer that could fit in my pocket and do all these things. And so the solution was a phone. And so you don't necessarily have to create some brand new thing, just maybe improve an older thing. Like if you think the current solution isn't fitting all the needs of the market or fitting the needs of you as the customer, then you can build off of that and make a better and newer solution that you think solves the problem even better than the current go-to in the market. It's important when you're kind of thinking of these possible solutions to these problems is that you don't get too deep too quickly. At the very beginning, keep a very surface level knowledge. Like don't get too technical, right? Like don't go straight into the app. Just draw it out on paper. So if it turns out your idea is wrong, which most likely it will be, you can iterate quickly. If you're doing this in code or you're doing this with an actual physical product, it's very hard to innovate quickly because you're spending time and a lot of resources. But if you're just doing it on paper, it's as simple as getting an eraser or a new piece of paper. So don't go too deep too quickly without really knowing what you want to do. So you got to try to figure out the problem through sketches and kind of thinking about it first before you go into, I have this $1 million app idea, let me jump straight into the code without really thinking about the solution, because you're going to get so far along and you're going to realize, wait, we should have done this way or this, and then it's too late, and then you wasted a bunch of time and it just wasn't effective. So be careful about that. What to worry about is try to do minimum research, at least, right? Obviously, more research is always better, but at least, like for example, if you're just trying to build like a mentoring app like Polaris, look up different mentoring solutions. What is the current solution? Because we do live in 2022 where there's all these products and web applications and stuff. So 9 times out of 10, someone has probably tried to do something very similar. That doesn't mean give up. That just means look at what they're doing and kind of look through it the lens of, well, what are they doing that could be improved on? And see, maybe the current solutions suck. Or maybe you're lucky and there's no current solution. Highly unlikely. There's always something kind of similar. And I would recommend just look to see what's out there and maybe see what may be similar, right? So let's say we're doing mentoring. We may also look into educational apps and see, while not completely related, it's similar enough that it would impact what we're trying to do. So we could see what the side markets are doing and see what's out there so we don't create something, or even worse, wasting all this time and realize, oh wait, someone already did this 2x better. So be careful about that. And lastly, make sure you show your friends or anyone around you, or kind of, maybe you've by this point done a little bit of research, maybe you have a buddy or a friend of a friend who's kind of in that market. Like if we're doing mentoring, maybe we have a friend who mentors on the side all the time, or a mentoring organization in our local area. So we can take what we have, our sketches or mock-ups or our illustration of what we think is the solution, and show it to them. And we can say, hey, this is really, really early, really raw. I just have this cool idea and I think there's a problem here. What do you think about it? And just sit down and get their feedback, and more the merrier. But if you can solve the problems with your thinking, because you're 99% of the time you're somewhat wrong at this stage. I can almost guarantee you're wrong. I was wrong, extremely. Where we started and where we are now are completely different. You have no idea what you're trying to do. I mean, you know what you're trying to do, but you're gonna end up somewhere completely different most of the time. So show someone so you can to a code base or physical product or whatever you're doing. So it's easier to fix it now than way down the road. So get people's feedback, because they're gonna have a different point of view and different, way of life. They've lived a completely different life and they see things differently, and see what they think. And so that's it for this one. Hopefully it will help you kind of come up with that next unicorn idea, and really help you in those early idea stages. And then this is pre-MVP, so you do all this and then you're ready to start making your most viable product, and you can go forward. But you really got to make sure you have a good idea, or at least one worth your time, a problem worth solving, before you jump straight into a beta or an alpha. Just make sure the idea is pat down and everything else will be easier. So good luck. Thank you.